Chriselda, hi.
Well, a very good evening to you, Lulu and Tabile.
Thank you very much for joining us, Chriselda. Now, what's the mood like where you are right now? We know that a lot of prominent people have started arriving and that you are with the Premier of Gauteng, David Makhura.
Well, that's right, Tabile, as we continue to see many of the high-profile government dignitaries coming here to show some support for the Kathrada family. We know that at this stage his family continues to surround him and at his bedside, as we understand that he's heavily sedated at this time. Amongst many of the dignitaries that we've seen here this evening, majority represented by the Gauteng provincial government, and many saying that they continue to pray for the struggle stalwart, hoping for a miracle this evening. You know, of course, a bit earlier on, as you indicated, we got that statement and heard from the family that his condition has certainly deteriorated. Let me chat now to the Gauteng Premier, David Makhura, who's also one of the trustees at the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation as well. Premier, thank you very much for your time this evening. You've just gone inside as well to show some support to the family. How do you feel at this time?
Good evening, Chriselda. Obviously, the mood is somber. Uncle Kathy is certainly not well, but we're still hoping and praying that God will spare him one more time, because he belongs to a very special generation of South Africans, men and women who spared no effort, no energy, who were single-minded in their commitment to achieve only one mission, that is to end apartheid and replace it with a democratic society. They did everything in their power to ensure that we get to a point where we are today. He continued to do that even after 1994, having spent many years in prison. Even in the last few weeks, he has been doing lots of work through the foundation to focus the country on some of the pressing problems we face, including the resurgence of racism, because non-racialism is something that inspired Uncle Kathy throughout his struggle, his youth, his struggle years, and up to today. He continues to inspire many of us, even on his at his bedside. He inspires us, even in the current state of health. He inspires us. Because he is just but one of those men and women who sacrificed everything, who did everything to represent the best values of our movement, the African National Congress, but the best values of the country we want to live in. So we hope that many of us will continue to learn from him and do everything we can to build a country of his dreams, a country of which all of us will be proud, a country in which everyone matters.
Premier, you spoke very well, I recall, during the annual Ahmed Kathrada lecture, the 6th, which you delivered, and speaking about the life and times of Dade Ahmed Kathrada. What are some of your fondest memories, the personal ones that you take with you during this very difficult time?
Well, I will say that, you know, when we were youth, we used to sing about Nelson Mandela, Ahmed Kathrada, Walter Sisulu, those who were in prison, the ones in prison, and we used to sing about Oliver Tambo, Joe Slovo, those who were in exile. But my encounter with him was very different. Because we theorized about our leaders, we romanticized them. But meeting Ahmed Kathrada, a very simple man, a man of humility, but a man with a great sense of humor. You could not, but even if he could speak now, as he is here in hospital. If he could speak, one first thing he would do is to crack a joke and essentially make a joke out of everyone. So he made sometimes he would make a very profound point in a way that can be easily dismissed. That's just a joke. And certainly when I saw him just now, I thought if he could speak, he would get us laughing. Yes. But he is a man of principle, a profound principle, and
one of the many things, sorry Premier, just to interject there, you spoke about his humility. Everyone was in awe of the humility of such a great man who played such a critical role in South Africa and still remained humble, still is humble.
He is still very humble, and he lives an ordinary man's life, and probably that is one of the most important lessons that he teaches us, even right now, that essentially leadership is about people, being connected with the people, feeling what they feel, experiencing what they experience every day. And if he could right now, he would be doing something like giving a talk. The youth are his passion as well, I must say. The young people, because when he talks to young people, you could see that he himself, I'm told that as a young person he was a very fiery and dynamic speaker.
Yes.
Much more fiery than some of today's young people think that they are militant. Yes. So when he talks to young people, he often gives you an impression of someone who can connect with the youth as well. That's right. Which is important for older generations to always connect with the younger ones. But I think the most striking thing about Comrade Kathy is his humility and his great sense of humor. He uses both. He deploys humility and humor to convey the most profound political messages. Yes. That some of us are not capable of doing.
Just very quickly there, Premier, just some of the personal stories I know you spoke about. I know during, for example, the local government elections, he was very active and was on the ground trying to rally support. And what are some of the fondest memories that you will have? So a very personal story.
Well, let me say that I was very privileged to serve in the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation as one of the trustees, and we in many of the meetings he himself will speak, and one thing which was always difficult to convince about was to talk about him. When it was very difficult when the foundation and the trustees discussed that we need to do this, that even just establishing the foundation named after Comrade Kathy was a mountain to climb. So that profound humility, that look, and he always did what Nelson Mandela did very, very well, that look, there were many other people who participated in the struggle whose names are not being mentioned. Why should you mention Ahmed Kathrada? And I know that if he could hear me right now, he would protest that I think you are exaggerating what I did, and you are exaggerating my contribution to the struggle. He would always say, remember, there were many men and women out there who did more than what I did. And I think that's an important lesson for our generation. We younger in the younger generations need to understand that the struggle must never be about us. It must always be about the people.
Thank you very much, the Premier of Gauteng there, David Makhura, sharing some very precious moments that he's had with the struggle icon Ahmed Kathrada, saying he remained humble to this point as he is in that sickbed, and of course continues to be surrounded there, Lulu and Tabile, by very close family and friends.
Thank you very much, Chriselda. We'll have to leave it there. That was our reporter, Chriselda Lewis, joining us from the Donald Gordon Hospital, where Ahmed Kathrada is currently being treated. And she was speaking to the Premier there, sharing some fond memories. Yeah.
And he had a lot to say with regards to how humble a person he is, and the fact that when people spoke of everything that he'd gone through in his life till today, he always felt that people were just giving him too much praise.
And I guess that's where the humility comes from. We'll definitely be crossing to Chriselda a little bit later in the bulletin. Now, earlier on, Chriselda Lewis spoke to the family. Kathrada's nephew says the family is grateful for the support received from South Africans across the board.